Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of iWorkinSport live interview. This is the show where we talk to accomplished sport business professionals who come here to share their knowledge, their experience, tips, and advice in order to help you succeed in your career. If we're just meeting, my name is João Frigerio. I'm the founder of iWorkinSport, and I want to thank you for being here with us today. So if you're coming for the first time, you have to know that this is interactive, so we expect to hear from you too. So hang in there so you have the chance to ask questions to our guest. That's how we'll introduce in a minute. By the way, let us know as well, where are you watching from? And if you're watching the replay, the same thing, write in the comments where you're watching from, if you liked it, and yeah, what's your thought of the show. If you don't know iWorkinSport, we're a platform to help you accelerate your career in sport. If you want to work in sport, or if you already work in sport, we can help you either way. We organize events which connect you with recruiters in case you're looking for a job, or with academic programs if you're looking for a program in sport, a master's, an MBA in sports. We help you do that. In fact, we actually have these two events coming up very soon. On the 20th of May, we'll be having this the iWorkinSport job fair here happening in Lausanne, Switzerland. So as you saw in the ad just before that, many sports organizations will be there. The FIFA, UEFA, the IOC, CAF is coming from Africa, from Egypt. FIBA, basketball agencies like IMG, OneFootball, a big sports tech that just raised $300 million again in their Series D, will be there too. So they are hiring, and many others. So don't miss it. And a month after, we'll have the Education Virtual Expo. This is for you if you're looking for a program. As you know, if you've been here before, I did a master's, which is the FIFA Master, and the same as Fabio. Actually, that's how we met. Well, Fabio is the guest that I'm going to introduce in 1 second. So let's actually go to that. So my guest today is Fabio Laudisio. He's the Global Marketing Partnership Senior Director for the NBA in Brazil. So he has over 20 years of experience in sport. He worked at the Organizing Committee of the World Cup, has founded and run his own sports marketing agency, then went to work for some of the biggest companies in sport and entertainment. He had a short stint outside sport. We're going to talk about that experience too. And then since a few years, went back and now is at the NBA. As I mentioned, he did the FIFA Master like I did, and he was actually the first person I ever talked about to that Masters. Anyway, let me introduce Fabio in 1 second. Where is he? Oops. Oh, right after this. Hey, Fabio, welcome. How are you?
Hello, João. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to talk about sports marketing.
Yeah, definitely. You see that I do this almost every week, but I still get so lost with the buttons here. But I'm learning. And yeah, Fabio, I think you know that. I might have mentioned that to you before, but you're actually the first person that I met to talk about the FIFA Master. I think Pierre Lanfranchi told me to go and get in touch with you. Did you remember that? So I went to your office in São Paulo. It was a Viz Marketing.
Yeah, I think you went to my previous agency. It was already a development of the FIFA Master because I opened that agency with two of my colleagues of the Master, Cemo Kiroglu from Turkey and Alfonso De Stefano from Napoli. So I remember back on that period, there was a few Brazilians on that course. So the course was just started in 2000. So yeah, I remember our talks back there.
Yeah, good stuff. You were important for me to take that decision, to take that leap of faith, and I don't regret 1 minute. Fabio, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. You have a brilliant career in sport, someone I follow, I keep learning from. But before we get to that, let me just give a shout out to some people that are already saying hi. Alberto Furtado Jr., saying hello, Fabio. Melissa Diaz is in Portugal. Alok, good afternoon from the UK. Jack Aldrich is in Geneva. And we have Erica. Hello, Erica, here in Lisbon. Mario Medeiros, greetings from Lausanne. Excited to hear the discussions, to learn from Mario, from Fabio. Well, there's a few more coming in, just so we can say hi. Curro Higuero in Madrid. This one you know. Marcelo Orquiz in Neuchâtel.
Yeah, lots of people from all over the world. Yeah.
João Cusquin in Angola. We're talking to the whole world, Fabio. And Emanuele Ferretti in Milan, Italy. Fabio, so let's start as I normally do start. I give a very, very brief sort of introduction about you, but there's a lot to talk about. So can you give us maybe a summary of your career, what you studied before, and how you actually transitioned and started to work in sport, and all the way to now, how you got to the NBA?
Okay, I'll try to summarize, my last 24 years. It all started in 1998. I remember we had in Brazil a big change here. We had Pelé as our sports minister back there. And Pelé made a law that was called his name, actually. It was called the Pelé Law. And I was working, I have a law degree. That was my last year on the law university. And I was working for a law office as a trainee. And when the law comes, I always liked very much sports. And I said, look, let me study this law and let me, explain to our clients. We had, I don't know if most of the people here will remember that, mainly the Brazilians, but we had Excel Bank as a client on that period. And Excel was investing a lot of money in Brazilian football, also in players transfer. So I was like a self-learner studying the law and started to really work with sports law. So I kept 2 years working with that from 98 to 2000. And in 2000, I found, I was already working with that. I opened this sports law department at the office, but I found that I needed to be more precise on the information. I needed to learn more from sports marketing. I wanted to expand, not just the law. And I was searching and I found the FIFA Master. Actually, I was in the first class of the FIFA Master. It was really great. It was a game changer in my career. Not only
that wasn't even called FIFA Master at the time, right?
No, I think it was called FIFA Master in Management, Law, and Humanities of Sports. That was the name, something like that. I know that we have some modules that it doesn't exist anymore. Like, we had medicine, like 1 week of sports medicine. So we were trying. I'm pretty sure that after us, and the course nowadays is, much more, the content is much better, I would say. But the point is, being in touch for the first time with the major players of the industry, also with top executives, it was really great. And I kept in Europe for almost 2 years. After the course, the FIFA Master put me working on co-walk at FIFA World Cup 2002. It was also a kind of trainee. It was really, really great. We haven't imagined that Brazil was going to host a World Cup or Olympic Games, so it was really something different for me. And I was like I said, as a trainee, I passed through different departments, competitions departments, marketing department, media department. So I had a very good overview about what is a big event. And when I returned to Brazil in 2002, I opened my sports marketing agency. So I kept working with the agency for 6 years with my two colleagues. We had the same, of course, completely different operations, but we have the same name and same goals in Brazil, Turkey, and Italy. And after 6 years, I was doing well at the agency, but it was a small agency. And Brazil was chosen to be the host of the World Cup and Olympic Games. And I wanted, as a sports executive, be part of those events. So I was there, trying to see how can I be part of these events. We were trying to be, the sports marketing arm of a big advertisement agency. But when I was negotiating that, I received the invitation from Red Bull. It was really, really great. I would say Red Bull and the NBA were the two best places that I've been in my entire career in terms, of leading the sports industry, making different types of projects. So I kept 4 years at Red Bull. It seems that 40 years because it's very, very intense. Lots of projects.
When did you start at Red Bull?
2008, and I left 2011.
Right.
I was taking care of the Brazilian market, Argentinian and Paraguayan market. So a lot of events, a lot of athletes activations, sponsorship. It was a great experience. And I would say I was doing very well there, but knowing the World Cup was going to be in my country, I received the invitation from Dentsu in 2011 to work for the Sony FIFA project. Sony was one of the top sponsors of FIFA, and they wanted to activate and to do a plan around FIFA Club World Cup 2011-12, FIFA Confederations Cup in 2013, and of course the World Cup in 2014. So I left Red Bull, I went to Dentsu, I worked in all those projects. Actually, I stayed working with Dentsu until 2017. There was just a small period, 6 months, that I left to the Paulista Football Federation, but I returned to Dentsu. And that's where I made something even bigger than sports. I worked for entertainment. When I worked for the Japan House project, I started working as the director for Dentsu for the project, and then I was invited by the project to be their marketing director. So it was a great experience as well. For 3 years, I did, music shows, art exhibitions, cinema. So I think it completed really my career, and it paid off when 2018, I came to the NBA, because here it's much more than a sports. It's really an entertainment, place and content and experience. So that's it. I would say the last 24 years in 5 minutes, and now I am here I will complete my 4th year at the NBA in October.
That's great, Fabio. Thank you so much. There's a few other people saying hi here. I'm going to get to them in 1 second. But before that, Fabio, and what about your job now at the NBA? So then explain to us, what is it that you do there? I don't know if there's... I always try to ask, so what's a normal day like for you? And when you work in sports, everybody says that there isn't one. But if you can maybe summarize, your job, that would be great.
Okay. I would say we work here, me and my team, we are responsible to sell the NBA in the Brazilian market. So we have 3 main pillars: marketing, sales, and account management. So it's like, we have to understand what the NBA is doing. So we have very constant contacts with all the areas. So I need to talk to the events department, to the content department, to the media department, understand all the products that we have, build a plan around this, go to the market to sell. And then when we sell, we come back internally to deliver everything. So that's pretty much what we do here. And I would say my normal day, as you said, that's one of the good things about sports. You don't have a normal day. You have a lot of events. You have a lot of different stuff in your daily lives. But I would say that I have at least 6 to 8 meetings or calls with partners, agencies, prospects, and also with the NBA, because we have three layers of decisions at NBA and that we need to align. It's first of all the NBA Brazil, then the NBA Latam, and then with the headquarters in New York. So we are constantly talking to all of them. Also answering a lot of emails, send a couple of proposals, continue negotiations. There are some negotiations that we are still talking for more than 6 months. We always have some deliverables, some new projects to discuss with the team as well. I would say that's pretty much what we do in 6 verticals here. So all the projects that we have nowadays are containing internally in our rights. So we sell like media rights, marketing rights, licensing rights. We have events. The major event that we have in Brazil, it's the NBA House. We will do it for the finals. It's a three weeks event in Brazil. Actually, it's the biggest event that the NBA does for the finals outside US and Canada. We have the Junior NBA platform that we work with kids and schools. We also have our social media, different products that we can deliver, the media, and finally, we have hospitality that we also work with the partners.
Oh, that's great. You mentioned about the NBA House and other initiatives that you do there. Not too long ago, I was having a chat with Nikel Moore. I don't know if you know her, but she's an alumna of the FIFA Master as well and worked for the NBA for many years in New York and did a lot of work with the NBA in Brazil, well, in Latin America as a whole, and in Africa. And she said that by far, I think she was very complimentary of the Brazilian operation, that you guys, I think, are used as a case study for wherever, all other areas where they're developing and opening offices. So well done for the work that you do there. But you mentioned that marketing, sales, and client management, right, as the 3 pillars. What is it that you like the most? Or about the job as a whole, what is it that you like the most about your job?
Actually, I like both of them, the 3 of them. But I am more focused now in new business for the moment. I have a team that's taking care about the account management, for example. But I'm pretty much involved with all of them. I would say that what I like the most here at the NBA, it's not any specific job or project. It's the way we build and conduct the business. It's really different. It's leading the way of the industry, and I see it's a kind of leadership that it's come very naturally. Let me give you some examples. For example, when we had the COVID and all the leagues stopped, we were the first one to stop the league, and we saw that after that everybody was following us. We were not the one that came back to play, but we were the ones that came back with a different format in the bubble. And we saw that the other was following to us. And I can see that with our commercial and sales strategy and projects, somehow the NBA does it very naturally. We do things, we do new projects, we try new things, and then we see that this is, after a couple of periods, this is applied in other leagues. So this is very pleasure for me to see that I'm working. I'm just one person on this entire company, but I'm working with this kind of company that is always in front of the other players and being respectful for that.
That's great, Fabio. Let me just give a shout out to other people that are connecting. Actually, Ronan Green watching on LinkedIn saying that it's buffering there for them. So if you're having problem with LinkedIn, you can go and watch it on YouTube. Normally, they all work very well. But we have Thalia Mitzi in Nyon, Regina Justo, hello Regina, in Barra Bonita, Brazil. So there's a question actually from João Cusquin. João, I'll get back to that in 1 second, sorry. Otacílio is also saying hi. Who else? Álvaro Lorente in Bogotá. And we have Jesus seeing us, watching us in Rennes, France. And Enes Firmino also watching us on LinkedIn. Let me get to the question here. Yes, from João Cuskin. Here in Africa, we have BAL, an official league supported by the NBA. Fabio, can you talk a little bit that success of BAL? Do you do anything with them, or what can you say?
Yeah, this is not under my responsibilities. I take care about the Brazilian market and Latin market. But I know that this is our league. It's a league that the NBA launched in Africa with 12 teams from different countries. The objective is to develop the sport. So I don't have many details of that. This is being done and handled by our African office in Johannesburg. We have actually 15 offices around the globe. We just opened our 15th this week in Singapore. So that's pretty much done by the local office. So I don't have many details, but I know that this is a part of the job that the NBA does to promote and develop the sport all over the world.
Great, thank you. And Fabio, so I can say that you had you're having a successful career in sport. So what would you say are the skills necessary to thrive in that, in a sports business career?
I think, João, it always started with the academic background. This is something that I feel very, very important because I also felt, why did I went to do the FIFA Master? Because I didn't find any course in Brazil in 2000 about sports marketing. And I was working with sports law, as I said, but I wanted to have more knowledge and I didn't find it here. Nowadays, it's pretty much common everywhere in the world. You have, a sports marketing course. And I think this is the first step you should do. You must be prepared to enter in sports industry, not only because you have passion about that. All of us have this. That's the main drive of us. But be really prepared and be really prepared. It's not do one course. I still learning in sports. I still reading a lot. I still participate in courses. I still exchange information with players in the industry. So the first thing it's, be prepared, go to learn, never stop learning. And when the chance comes, you are, prepared to get it. Being more, precise in the position that I am today. For example, if I want to hire somebody for my team nowadays, of course, we will receive a lot of resumes, and I assume in all of the resumes that we select, there are people with sports background, academic or sports experience. So my major concern is to find the right people. And I want to tell you one thing. When I joined the NBA, I think I was here for 1 month and I went to New York to our head office and I had a meeting with our head, the head of my department all over the world. He's been working for the NBA for 30 years. And I asked him, look, what's the tip you can give me? I'm just joining the NBA. Let me know, what do you think? And I was expecting something very elaborated around the business and something like that. And he told me one thing that I would like to pass here as well. Be a nice person to work with, understand the other. So it's not related to the job itself. I'm pretty sure when we selected the CVs, all of them have sport background and academic studies. But, to have these skills, people's skills is very, very important. Understand the other. Sometimes, something that I used to say to my team, pick your fight. You're never going to win all of them. So sometimes you have to give some steps behind to give some steps forward. So that's the one thing, if you are capacitated to be a nice person to work with. And the second thing I would say, don't be afraid of trying. Actually, that's the schools that I passed through. I told you about Red Bull and the NBA. Those are two companies that really try to do the difference. And we have to do this in order to lead, in order to, to be recognized like these brands are. You have to try to do different things. don't be afraid of fail. Actually, sometimes the fail is part of the process to succeed. So, of course, the company has also to have this in mind. It's not very simple, but I would say those kind of things, be a nice person to work and don't be afraid to try new things, are, among the important topics.
That's great advice. As you said, it's really nice when you're in an environment that allow you to do that. And you recommended two places there for people to work. Let me ask you something else then. How much do you participate in the process of recruiting whenever someone is coming to recruit, maybe to work in your team? Is that from the beginning? It starts with HR? Is that only final interviews? How is that?
No, actually, we do all the process internally. Our HR are the ones that need to conduct the process, but we participate in all of the steps, since the beginning, indicating some CVs. Of course, HR will go to find some CVs as well, defining the job description, defining the path that this person has to do to talk with the NBA executives. And one of the good things here, and of course we make decisions, but most of them are done with the team. So the person that wants to work for the NBAs have to work with different people with different backgrounds. And nowadays the process is being done entirely internally. It's not an easy and quick process. Usually it takes some time because it's not also easy to have places in our regional office. At the moment, we have a couple in the NBA Brazil. So it's a process done with a lot of care, with compliance and everything. But we participate in the whole period. Yeah.
I think my question was more: do you, like you, being the director there, a senior director for the position or for that area? Is that the HR who does a first selection and then you come in to participate during the interviews, or I actually review CVs and all that? I asked that because the two sort of advice that you gave beforehand, I think, had a lot to do with what they call soft skills, right? And how do you approach sort of people and how do you behave, more than just technical skills. And so I was wondering how actually they can show that those talents or those skills that you mentioned in a CV when they're applying, or if that's something that you can only grasp when you get to the second stage and actually is face to face with someone.
Yeah, actually, it all started with HR, but we participate, as I said, in all the steps of this. It's not easy to show the soft skills through a CV. Sometimes you can capture something, but I think the major to get those kind of information, it's in a conversation. So it's tricky because it's difficult to show in a CV. But as I said, if you have, all the needs that we have in a job description, technical needs, then you have the first step. The second step is the interview that you can show this type of soft skills as well.
Great. Fabio, there's a lot of questions coming in. We'll get to those in 1 minute. I wanted to keep going a bit on your career. I have some questions about that because, you mentioned 24 years working there. What was the biggest challenge for you? Where did you think something's not really working well, and maybe it even didn't in the end, but what do you think was the biggest challenge and maybe the lesson that you took from it?
Yeah, I would say I still have that nowadays, 24 years later. But whenever I'm starting a big new project, it's a kind of, you have the bubbles in your head. You are afraid to start going to a game. So I would say that the challenge that I faced are those to put everything in order to make like Red Bull a race event that I did in Red Bull. It was the biggest event ever in my entire career, 1 million people on the streets, the NBA house that we have this year in Brazil, the Sony FIFA projects. All of them, when I started, I was not really sure about the way to do it. And of course, as soon as you get more and more involved with the project, you got more confidence. And in the end, all of them paid off. It was really successful projects. But of course, as everybody, we have some failures as well. And this is also important in order to reach the goals. So the major sports events that I participated, World Cup, Olympic Games, Pan American Games, here at the NBA, the projects related to the games. We have like a global games in Mexico. Those projects, the big ones, are the biggest challenge that I still face, and I still having those bubbles before this project happens.
Right. There's a question here from Mario Medeiros. He says, under the development perspective, does NBA Brazil has intention to expand the NBA basketball school program? Does NBA consider this program as a marketing asset to be commercialized?
Yes, at the moment we have more than 100 NBA basketball schools companies. It's a franchise system. So we have an agency that takes care about this project, and they sell to the schools, to clubs, to gyms. All of them can be the franchise and develop this project. We have an entire book. How can you do this project and everything? So this is one of our goals in Brazil. Together with the basketball schools, we also have the platform Junior NBA, and the platform Junior NBA, it's even bigger. We have like events, we have online program. It's really, really nice, this program. This is one thing that we are trying here in Brazil first. It's the first country in the world. Actually, it's NBA CV to form physical education teachers to teach to the kids. We found out through our researchers here that the way the kids start doing sports in Brazil are through the physical education classes in their schools. So we wanted to form these physical education teachers to make basketball one of the options, instead of giving volleyball and football only, also give basketball. And we thought that if we give them a proper NBA CV, he would work with that. And it's being also very successful. We launched this September last year in Brazil. Our goal for this first year is to form 8,000 physical education teachers. And also, again, throughout our researches, we saw that each of these teachers, they impact 240 kids in the schools that they give the lectures. So we are already impacting 2 million kids with our junior NBA curriculum. Our goal here, it's a project that we see as an investment case for Brazil, and we wanted to be talking to 60,000 physical education professors in the next 10 years and 15 million kids throughout Brazil. So the junior NBA platform, basketball schools are one of the legs of this platform. It's one of our major goals to develop here in Brazil, together with the other pillars that I told you: social media, events, hospitality, and media.
Oh, that's great. I did not know about that. So also thank you, Mario, for the question. Fabio, I told you that there's always questions from the audience, and normally they're much better than mine. So I hope they keep coming. And in fact, there is a second one here. Oh, just before, you saw that I reminded people here, if you're enjoying the tips from Fabio, want to show you his love. Oh, sorry, we're showing him your love. Hit that like button. That helps us, right, Fabio?
Perfect. Yeah.
Well, help me at least. I work in sport. And if you like this type of content, there will be more coming. So yeah, subscribe to that channel as well. We have to say that, so otherwise people don't remember. Anyway, Emanuele Ferretti has an interesting question here for you too, Fabio. Would you recommend a volunteering experience in a sports event for young students wanting to work in the sports industry in the future? He's talking in particular, he's applying for volunteering in Eurobasket.
Yeah, I would say it's if you're still a student, I would recommend to do it. But if you're already a formed person, if you're already aiming an executive place, I wouldn't do that. So to start, in sports industry, it's always good to be a volunteer. I've never done that. I had the happiness to start working as a trainee, so I was earning a salary. But I think it's useful for those that are, your first job. Then, if you had previous experience before, I think you should position yourself as an executive and aim, to those type of roles.
Good, thank you, Fabio. And there's another one here that I don't know how much you'll be able to talk about that. He's talking about if there's a change in the collective bargaining agreements due to players missing games. And he says, example, Ben Simmons, Kyrie, how do you envision it affecting sales or marketing strategy in Brazil? Would that affect at all?
No, it doesn't affect. Actually, I'm not involved with players marketing. Actually, we don't have any rights for players to sell it commercially for any partner. It's a bit of different. For example, if you go to CBF, you want to sponsor the Brazilian national team, you can use the collective image of the players, not individually, but you can use the collective image. At the NBA, we can't use the individual image of the players, neither the collective image. So if you want to sponsor an NBA player, you have to talk directly with Players Association or with the Players Agency. So it doesn't affect our business here in Brazil.
Very, very good. There's a few more comments coming here. Well, actually, changing a bit, just I wanted to know a bit more about then your career in your career in sports. You've been to the World Cup, well, a few of them, but I don't know if the first one that you went to was the one in Asia, Japan, and Korea.
No, I went to 98, 2002, 2006, 10, and 2014. I haven't been to Russia. 2014 was the last one.
It was a good one too.
Yeah.
By the way, so from when you started actually working in Korea, but also not only football, obviously you've been to many big events at the NBA, Olympic Games, other things. What was your best sporting memory working in sport?
Well, John, I think the passion really started in the end of 80s. Now I would say my age here, but in the end of 80s when Ayrton Senna was winning in the Formula One, that's where I remember. Of course, I remember the World Cups, and I have a team that I support in Brazil. I remember following this team. But the first time that I really saw this as an opportunity maybe to work with was when I saw Ayrton Senna and everything he does back there, wearing the national hat of the bank. I remember that my father was a friend of the marketing director of that bank, National Bank. It doesn't exist anymore. But I could go to, I think, 3 or 4 Brazilian Grand Prix. Senna won 2 of them, and I was with the marketing director, so I saw everything from internally. I had no idea that there was everything internally. I just saw everything on TV. So it all started there in the beginning of 90s, and after that, it was a passion that I really drove to be a career when I did the FIFA Master in 2000. And for me, it's pretty clear the development I could see at least in the Brazilian sports. When I did the Master, I was not even dreaming to have a World Cup or an Olympic Games in Brazil. We were so far away from that. And when I had the opportunity to work for the Pan American Games in 2007, when I had my agency, in my head it was, look, this is the biggest event that I could be working in Brazil. And it was my first experience, and it's pretty clear, events, we saw the development of the industry, we saw the development of sponsorship, we saw the development of the people that was working for that event, and nowadays we are exporting that. If you look at the organizing committee of Qatar, it's plenty of Brazilians. The Olympic Games, it's we are everywhere now, talking about the Brazilian market and the development that I saw very, very close. So for me, it's this last 24. I would expand this a little bit. The last 30 years, it was really good to see. First of all, as a fan, how things work. I could see that, and then afterwards, as an executive.
Cool. Thank you for that. You mentioned several times already in our talk your experience at the FIFA Masters. So let me ask you then, do you have a favorite moment, I think, during the course, or is that, I presume that you would recommend that to people, and then maybe why? Tell us, what was the thing that you really liked about it? How has that actually helped you? Just, of course, there's the learnings that you had, things that you learned in class. You mentioned that you went on to found a company with your classmates. But tell us a bit more about your experience there.
I think there are a couple of highlights that I could make. First of all, as you said, the people that I met during the course. If you look at today, most of them are very well positioned in their careers in sports organization. Not to mention that some of them are still very, very close friends. I've been to Turkey already 2 or 3 times. My Turkish friends were here, the Italians as well, the English friends as well. Jem, and the Italians also, we were very close. The English guys were very close. So we keep in contact. Also the French guys as well. So it's a kind of family that we built there. That's the first thing. And the second thing I would say, it really called my attention on that period. I remember that, I don't remember the names, but I remember, for example, when we were in Neuchâtel, we had a lecture about, events. It was with the organizing of Tour de France. Then we have a lecture with, contracts, and it was with the lawyer of Ferrari. So I was having the opportunity to learn from the best. On that, when I did the master, I was very much focused on law, so I was more linked with this kind of content back there. And it was great to see, look, if I have to do the contract, maybe there is not one contract that it's more complicated than a Formula One contract. And I was having the lectures with the Ferrari lawyer. So that's the two things, the people that I met, and also the content linked with the professionals that I met in the course as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when you say about this network that you called family, and I have to agree with that because some of my best friends come from there as well. I think one of the most interesting thing is that that's not necessarily only from your class. So kind of so you've done that over 20 years ago. You kind of keep sort of meeting people, at least in Brazil. I know that there's a network there that people always meet. Our friend Pedro is a great promoter of that, but elsewhere too. So I think that's definitely a big highlight. Let me just say there's many more comments and people saying hi. So Talia, just thank you for the tips. Alberto Furtado is asking how they can get in touch with you. I presume LinkedIn would be a good idea.
Yeah.
There's a few more questions. Mame Paulo saying hi from Santos, home of the best club in the world. And thank you. Mario is saying thank you.
Thank you, Mario.
And here, Manuele, also thank you for that. Michaela joined from Bucharest. Humberto in São Paulo. Regina with Teixeira, with that name, I think it's Brazilian as well. Daniel, Lourdes, There's Melissa here is asking, you talk about the importance of academic background. Do you recommend any university? She's talking about the bachelor. She has a son that is very interested in sport, but going to university. Do you have any recommendation on that?
Yeah, I'm suspicious to say that, but I always recommend the FIFA Master in terms of university. Nowadays, it's pretty much common. Every university
But
locally or
that would be a postgraduate, right? So
oh
any
yeah.
recommendations before at the bachelor level, or you don't
Yeah,
follow
I'm not.
that much?
No, I'm not very much familiar with bachelor level. I know that in US has a lot of courses around that. I know that one in NIU. I know that there are a couple here in Brazil as well in USP, but I'm not very much familiar. In terms of master, together with FIFA Master, I would say the Real Madrid and Liverpool are the two of the ones that I see that people that coming from those courses are really well positioned on their careers. But if she does a search, depending on which country she is, I would say she will have plenty of courses to select and choose. It's quite common nowadays. Yeah, I didn't have that in the past.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do law.
right,
I would do this if I had this chance in the 90s.
right. Fabio, I have another question for you. So you mentioned Red Bull and the NBA. They are always like perceived as some of the best employers in sport. They are actually also, according to our survey that we just surveyed about, ask people to point or to nominate the most attractive employers in sport. So where they would like to work, and they both are in the overall like top list. But you obviously been working in Brazil for a long time, work with federations, with other types of clients there. Where, what are the main things that maybe the sports business in Brazil, where you work now, can learn from these corporations?
You mean about the market here? What the
Yeah, about, I mean, why is it that you loved working in this both of these companies so much that you think companies there could learn from?
okay? First of all, it's what I said before as well. Not be afraid of trying. After it is already done, it's easy to say. But can you imagine somebody knocking on the door of the Red Bull president in Austria, and it was something like this, saying, "Look, I want to do a air race with airplanes 15 meters from the ground with public around that track." The chance to give you, okay, go for it. It was really, really tight. I wouldn't say that any other company would take this risk, and Red Bull took it. So first of all, take the
Let's
risk.
jump. Let's jump from space.
Yeah, let's jump from space. It's something like that. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do the. Of course, you don't have to do. I went to the extreme. You don't have to do this, but you have to take. Sometimes you have to take the risk, and you know that if you take the risk, you sometimes you can fail, and this is part of the process. This is one thing that I think the NBA and the Red Bull does very well. And the second one, it's the compliance. It's very much clear what we can do, what we can't do, the type of sponsorship, the type of properties, the type of packages that we can have for the market. So this gives you credibility. When you're in the market selling something to partners, they know that it's going to be a very good project with a very good deliverable. So those things, I think, are key learnings from those two type of companies. There are much more, but I think if you start doing those two things, I think you're starting to be on the right path, at least in sports marketing.
Right. Cool. We're actually going to the last sort of 10 minutes of the interview, so it's gone really fast and flew by. There's an interesting question here from João Cusquin, and then I have another one for everyone watching at home. If you do have your last sort of question to Fabio, write them down right now, and I'll see if we still have time to get to that. And while you do that, hit that like button, show us your love. João Cosquin asks first, as a two-part question, so how many Brazilian players are in the NBA today? And then
No,
I
nice.
think And then how do these players actually help business in Brazil?
Yeah, not much. At the moment, if I'm not wrong, we had 4 last year. If I'm not wrong, we have 3 or 4. So it's not that relevant. Once we don't have players rights, so it doesn't really impact our business here. We sell the league as a role, events of the league. So of course, if we had a star, it could help us here. But commercially speaking, it doesn't change anything for us. If we sell any project for the Brazilian market, it would be directly with him. What do we see here? Some of our partners, Sadia, Subway, Budweiser, they have separate deals with some athletes. They they have done already some projects with Leandro Barbosa, with Anderson Varejão. Last year, Budweiser closed a deal with Giannis Antetokounmpo. But those are deals that complete our deliverables here. But we can easily leave without players, right? The properties we deliver to our partners here are very much linked with the league itself. So it really doesn't change.
But we had at least in a few occasions when you had some NBA. We never had actual league games in Brazil, no. But we did have some NBA matches. How's that before the league starts? Preseason
We
games.
call that global games. So we have in some countries we had this in Brazil, but it was like 10 years ago, 9 years ago. We had a couple of games here. Yes.
You didn't do that recently anymore, because at that time I think, I don't know, did you bring teams that had Brazilian players?
LeBron was here. When LeBron was returning to Cleveland, the first game he did was here in Brazil, part of these global games. At the moment, we don't have the global games in Brazil. We are focusing on a different strategy. So we are focusing on other events, lifestyle events, content. This is something that in our region we will have this year in Mexico, and we have in other countries. In Mexico, actually, it's the only country that we have a game that it's the season game. It's not preseason game. Because of the distance, we had this in 2019. All the other that we call the global games, it's preseason. We had already in Paris, Japan, Beijing, India, and many other countries.
And how does the NBA nowadays rank in terms of sort of sports viewership? Are you growing? Are you happy? Are you looking to have sort of much more? What's the plan for the product in Brazil?
Actually, this is something we cannot complain here in Brazil. It's doing really, really well. We have a research that we do annually, and nowadays we have 45 million people that said that they are NBA fans in Brazil. Inside this, there are some clusters, but I would say half of it at least is the core fan. So it's a very big number. If we look at the previous researches, we've been growing very fast in the last 3 years. And if we look at other properties as well, we see that we are growing. In terms of content, we have more content. We have more social media channels. I mean, local channels. We have the American ones, but we have the Brazilian ones. We have Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all localized. And YouTube was the last one that we opened last year. So we are increasing also in terms of content. We are increasing in terms of games being broadcasted. So this year we had more than 420. 2 years ago, we had less than 300. So if we look at all the variables and the departments in Brazil, we see that we are really growing here in the country. I think we have, a very good competitive advantage, because the games in Brazil are being broadcasted on the prime time, on the time that Brazilians are used to watch sports. So it starts in around 8:30, then it goes. Of course, we have one game like 12:30 in the night, but usually you can see games around 8, 9, 10 o'clock. And if you compare this to Asia and Europe, it's different, the timing zone. So this is something that really helps us here, and all Our pillars are growing really fast in the last 3 years. It's even with the pandemic, we managed, to find innovative ways to deliver to the partners and keep the growth of the office.
No, that's great to hear. So I think a follow-up question to that is, where then do you think are the opportunities for people that want to work with sport in general or with the NBA? You mentioned a lot of social media channels that you're opening, so you're on TikTok or on all these platforms. Is that in social media? Is that communications? That's digital marketing, or is that are opportunities in operations as well? So for people that are looking to work, as I said, with the NBA, or maybe we can expand to maybe other sports. If you want to talk about that, so where would you say are the main opportunities?
I don't know if in our content team we have some opportunities. We are well done there. This year, I would say, in the first year, I will complete 4 years of the NBA, and this is the first year that we have more than one role being contracted for the NBA. If you go to our LinkedIn page, you can find there. We have a place at the moment for the marketing team. We have other roles. I think it's one or two more roles. One, it's in my team as well. But it's like I said, John. It's first of all, the HR started. So if you want to work for the NBA, please go to the LinkedIn, send the CV there. We make the selection, and that's the first selection. Of course, it's very much technical, and then we go to the interviews. We understand better about the soft skills about this candidate. So I would say at the moment we have those 2 or 3 places here in our office, but we are always posting there. And if you go to the LinkedIn of other NBA offices, there are also opportunities in other countries. I'm not familiar with that because all of them, they have different operations. As I told you, we have 15 different offices all over the world. So follow the NBA LinkedIn, that you'll be receiving all the opportunities that we have.
Brilliant. Fabio, we're going to the end. Just one question turned into 2 about partnerships. One is from Álvaro Lorente. Are there WNBA's initiatives in Brazil or other Latam countries? It's a very good one. And then following that, I will also ask you to expand in the relationship that you have with the Brazilian basketball. There's a league, right? Novo Basquete. That you can maybe mention the relationship and support that you give to the actual national league there too. So maybe about the WNBA first.
Yeah, actually about WNBA, this is one thing that it's in our radar. NBA this year is completing 75 years. The WNBA has 25 years. And for the first time, we had some matches being broadcasted live in last season. So the women platform is something that we would like to develop. Of course, we have a long way to go, but the idea is to have as much as relevance as we have with the men and with the woman, with content, events, games being broadcasted. This is definitely one of the things that we wanted to focus in the future. And about NBB, this is something that it's not in my role as well. I know we have a kind of partnership. It's more changing of information, but they have entirely different operation, partners and everything. But of course, being both of us basketball entities, we exchange a lot of information among us.
Right, and you do with the FIBA as well. I think there is
not being done by us, by the
not you in Brazil, the NBA.
For sure.
There's a close relationship there too. Anyway, Fabio, we're just hitting the hour mark, so I want to be cognizant of the time, and I know that you're a busy man, so I want to thank you so much for participating in this. Before you go, I always ask my guests here if they want to recommend a book. We have so many people watching us now. This is something that's a treat that we give them, if you can give a recommendation there, or if you prefer a podcast or something that people would follow or read, or that would improve their professional lives.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation, João. It's always a pleasure to talk about this type of subject. About a book, I would recommend 3 of them linked with the NBA. Most probably they were told already here. First of them, it's Show Dog.
Shoe
The
Dog,
book,
yes.
yeah,
Good one.
about like
Like
history.
Phil Knight.
Phil Knight, it's like very basic. But if you want to work with us, you have to read this book. You see that they faced a lot of challenge. When you see the success of Nike nowadays, you don't imagine the things that they passed through it. The second one I'm reading at the moment, it's called Michael Jordan, History of a Champion and the World that he created around it. So it's not only the history of Michael Jordan, but also the history of the commercial aspects that he was creating on the 90s.
Yeah.
It's from David Halberstam. It's the author. It's a US journalist. And the third one, 11 Rings. It's really nice. It's the book of Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
It's the most successful coach in the NBA. So he won the 6 titles with the Chicago Bulls. And then he won 5 titles with Lakers. And he coached Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, all the big players. So it's quite interesting as well. And if you allow me, I like very much biography.
Yeah.
So the 2 ones that I read recently, the Elon Musk, the author is Ashley Vance, and Steve Jobs from Walter Isaacson are really nice for those. I like to learn from those, real histories. So these 5 books, I would say, are good books for sports marketing knowledge.
That's great. Fabio, thank you so much. It's too bad that there's more comments, but we're just past the time, so I have to go. And I want to thank everyone that has been here. So if you enjoyed it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Next week, we have another great interview coming up. If you're interested in thinking of connecting with the recruiters from all over the world, there's the iWorkinSport job fair coming up. There's a link in the description below. So check that out too. And yeah, bye-bye, everyone. Fabio, just stay there. I will just close this and we talk a little more. Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. See you next week. Bye-bye.